you have a chance to go get a hitter, a veteran, proven bat who can impact this team. And there are probably multiple ways you can construct it. Knowing this front office, they might try to be creative.
All right, here we go. We got a lot of people involved on this next segment for good reason. We are announcing a new show as part of the FT network. This will technically make it 10 total shows if we're including the team shows, fair territory, foul territory, Baseball America Hot Sheet, the whole deal. So welcome to the party, Cody Stavenhagen from The Athletic, who covers the Tigers, who we've had on here before, and Kieran Steckley, who is part of the old Turn the Corner pod, talking about the Detroit Tigers, top Tigers show out there, podcast-wise, and digital show on YouTube, and now called Tiger Territory. Nice and simple. If you can't remember that, you got problems. So the timing is fresh off this Tigers season. Congratulations. Welcome to the FT Network and the FT fam. Cody's talked with us plenty. I'll let him follow you. But actually, Kieran, why don't you lead the way, man? Great to have you on as part of the team, and go tell everyone why they should listen to Tiger Territory.
Well, thanks for having me. First of all, it feels great to be part of the family. The reason to listen to Tiger Territory is simple. Cody and I have been best friends since college, and it's by pure coincidence that he covers the Tigers, and I am a lifelong Tigers fan. Actually, my dad was Al Kaline's paper boy. My great-grandfather did the score changes at, I think it was Bennett Park at the time. So, like, lineage, as you can see behind me, lineage of Tigers fandom. And then for Cody, like, when he first got on the beat, we would just talk on the phone about the Tigers. And so eventually, kind of the old story, right? It's like, why don't we do a podcast? And so we did, and we've been doing it the whole AJ Hinch regime, which feels long and short at the same time. But it's really just, a couple guys talking baseball specific to the Tigers and having a good time. I always say that our podcast is really no different than those phone calls. It's just cleaner language. Like, it's just talking baseball theories, smart takes, looking at it from a unique perspective. And obviously Cody's work is a big catalyst for that. And I try to match that with the way I think about the game, coming from, like I said, a lifelong Tigers fandom and an appreciation of the history, with also like what's moving forward with this team. It's a great time to be here. It's the most exciting time for the Tigers fans in a long time. So I feel like we're joining at the right time. Would have been better with the CS berth, but I think we're still joining at the right time.
Yeah, there's going to be some action in the offseason, as Cody can probably tell you. But Cody, yeah, welcome. We've had you on before, but give us your take, and you can mix in what you've seen so far from the Tigers over the past couple of weeks and what you're expecting, as you guys are going to cover this team with multiple episodes in the offseason. Oh, wait, Cody, you look like you're bringing the passion, but you're a little bit muted. Oh, there he is. You're good.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
I don't know what that was about. Before,
all
right,
but we got
thanks for officially welcoming us to the family. Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this. I've covered the Tigers for 6 years now, and as Kieran alluded to, this is probably really the first time, I think the city of Detroit is behind this team. There have been some fits and starts where it felt like this team had good things going for it, but now they finally have a playoff berth. I think you look up and down the organization, it's the healthiest it's been, in my time around the team. And as far as our show, there's a lot of noise out there. We kind of try to cut through some of the ridiculous takes, some of the hot takes. We try to have some insightful, measured discussion. But yeah, we have a lot of fun at the same time. We're not above joking around. We have some running gags that we go to on the show. Like, I think that's our number one goal is like to be smart, to be informative, but to also make Tiger Territory something worth listening to, something a little different than what you're going to hear on talk radio or even other podcasts that might be out there. I think we have our own unique chemistry, our own unique brand, and those who have listened to us throughout the years, we appreciate you guys so much because you've been loyal and you come to us week after week, and now we can come to you guys with more backing multiple times a week, more video, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, first of all, y'all couldn't have come on before they lost. Like, I don't understand, but I see Kieran's little Lions thing. So I don't know if you can see this. Bear down, bitch. Sorry, but that's upcoming later, right? I mean, like the Lions did in the NFC Championship. The Tigers went there this year. But how much did it hurt to watch that? I mean, it was such a great run, and you think you're going into Game 5, you have Scooble going, and you're thinking like, oh man, we got this. We're going to the LCS to play the Yankees, and then Lane Thomas's one swing. Like, describe the emotions as a fan like you guys are. I know Cody, you work, so you're not supposed to be a fan, but like describe the emotions when that swing happened and you just knew, like you looked at Scooble. I felt so bad for Scooble because he had carried them to this point, and in one swing it was almost like the emotions hit him. Like they showed him on the bench and he was like, oh, like he just knew, right?
Yeah, it was like, you mentioned the Lions. It kind of felt similar to the NFC Championship game that you alluded to a little bit. It was this whole time we were worried, I would say, about like when will the clock strike midnight? And I'll even throw in game 4, Bo Brisky. It just kind of felt like it did. Was there regression to the mean with the way that the Tigers were pitching? And you were hoping that it would, get by for 7 more outs in game 4 or, throughout game 5. But you couldn't necessarily have been surprised when Brisky, as lights out as he had been, just left a fastball a little bit too middle. And then Scooble, like, was he going to go the entire postseason without giving up a run? Those are unrealistic expectations. So it's kind of like a numbing feeling from a fan's perspective because you're so excited. You're trying to keep the right perspective about how amazing this run was, but it still was very abrupt. And then you kind of have to grapple with, is this kind of dream over? And, and like I said, you keep the perspective of how you got here, but then you get into the moment and all you want is more and more and more. I just think they kind of ran out of gas a little bit. And like I said, it was still within the expected outcomes, but just, you mentioned like home runs. I mean, I got David Ortiz flashbacks to 2013 too. So I come on foul territory and all we do is bring up bad memories in my sports life. So, it's a good start for me, I guess.
All right. Well, since we're all new to Tiger territory, welcome, boys. But I got to know if I'm part of the Tiger territory, are we a streak or are we an ambush? Because that's a group. That's what Google tells me is a group of Tigers is either called a streak of Tigers or an ambush of Tigers. So you guys need to fill us in, us non-Tiger fans.
Well, you've put way more thought into it than I have. I'm going to go with an ambush. Like that just
sounds
cool,
ambush, of course.
Right? Pretty simple.
Okay, so since we're an ambush of Tigers, how many Tigers are we going to add to our ambush this offseason? And which types of ambush are we going to add to our group here?
If I were the head of the Tigers ambush, I would want to add at least one really big, strong, powerful Tiger. I don't make those decisions. We did talk to Scott Harris, the president of baseball operations, today, and like a lot of execs are this time of year, he wasn't very committal about much of anything. He said their biggest additions need to be young players making internal progress, but he said there would be external additions as well. For me, I look at the corners. I think I said this last time I was on here. Third base or first base, you have a chance to go get a hitter, a veteran, proven bat who can impact this team. And there are probably multiple ways you can construct it. Knowing this front office, they might try to be creative, maybe look at the trade market a little bit. But a guy like a Christian Walker, who's a veteran, could make a lot of sense to me. We'll see if they'd be in on spending for Alex Bregman. There's Pete Alonso. There are guys like that out there. I think they should target the high end to supplement a talented young core that they have.
And there you go, Cody's tweet right there. So I'm going to add a little more news because we don't hold back, right? We're independent. We can say whatever we want. We have off-season plans for Tiger territory, even though we just started with them. Austin Jackson is also going to be a part of Tiger territory. We can announce that right here. And we'll have Ajax on at some point. Kratz, you played with Ajax, right?
Yep. And
you played against him,
still keeping contact with him. That dude's been through every awesome dude.
Awesome. We're excited about that. So, Cody, if you want to just give us a quick minute on Austin Jackson's tenure with Detroit and, how he's obviously been involved within the community there and what he can bring to the mix, a little player perspective in some of the shows that you guys do.
Yeah, I think Austin's a memorable Tiger, and it was funny. I was looking at his baseball reference just the other day. It's like, he wasn't actually a Tiger for all that long, but he was a really good, exciting young player, an elite defender for some very memorable and good winning Tigers teams. That's one of the reasons we targeted him as someone we would like to have on the show. Just this past year, he won the Tigers Willie Horton African American Legacy Award, which is kind of a big deal. in the Tigers community. Yeah, like I think that's what it comes down to. Everyone I talk to seems to love Ajax and remembers his Tigers tenure very fondly.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little more current or ex-Tigers. Do the Tigers make this run if they don't trade Jack Flaherty? The Dodgers are like, thank you, Scott Harris. Thank you, AJ Hinch. Thank you, Detroit, for giving us our game one starter who just shoved it up the mitts. But do they make this run if they don't make some of the moves that they made at the trade deadline?
Big shout out to America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh, for helping us eat good during this busy time of the year for us. With HelloFresh, you get pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. It's home cooking made easy, fun, and affordable.
HelloFresh makes it easy, even for picky eaters like Scott. There's a changing menu of 50 recipes to choose from each week. Customize it to fit your taste. There's protein and veggie swap options too. The recipes are easy to follow. Just choose your delivery day, open your box, cook, and eat.
My house is busy with sports, but family dinners are important. My fam eats better, healthier, and we cook so much easier with HelloFresh.
And for a limited time, kids eat free. Go to HelloFresh.com/FTKids to unlock this exclusive offer. 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while subscription is active. That's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/FTKids.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to say no, which is crazy. I mean, I saw the Bob Nightingale tweet last night. It's like, the Tigers would still be playing if they had Flaherty. If they had him in the playoffs, maybe, but I don't think they get to the playoffs if not for the moves that were made. It was odd in that it led to a complete reconstruction of their pitching, which seemed to make no sense at the time, and then it ended up working absolute wonders. The Tigers had the best ERA in the league for the final 2 months of the season, and in exchange for Flaherty, in addition to a borderline top 100 prospect and Tyron Lorenzo, they get Trey Sweeney, who was their primary shortstop down the stretch, and played pretty well, played really good defense, and did just enough to hold his own with the bat. That was obviously a position that was a major problem when Javi Baez was healthy, and they had some other guys, Zach McKinstry and Ryan Kreidler, fill in there. But Trey Sweeney made some huge contributions. He made some huge plays down the stretch. So oddly enough, you can draw a pretty direct line and be like, it'd be nice to have a few starts of Flaherty, but the staff actually performed even better without him, and they got a boost at shortstop.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Kieran.
I was just going to say, I kind of look at the trade deadline in its entirety. And like when they sold off Chafin and Kelly and, traded Flaherty, and, Cody and I were like waiting for, that trade to go through. And Scott was adamant, Scott Harris, president of baseball operations, like right afterward, that like Sweeney was no throw-in. Like they identified Sweeney back to when he was with the Yankees, and they really liked him. Now you look at his numbers, they're not like, they're not going to jump out at you, but he probably made the most memorable defensive play in the last 10, 15 years in Tigers history by getting that in-between pop-up against Baltimore. Kind of saved their postseason hopes. And I think just the overall turn of the youth movement, because that was something they teased a little bit like before the season. But then when you're putting in Gio Urshela, and then you're putting Javier Baez out there, and what his numbers speak for themselves as well, it didn't necessarily feel like a real youth movement. Mark Canha kind of put in that category too. And then the trade deadline happens, and it's like it's just the kids. The kids are just playing baseball, and Sweeney fit right in. I know Cody had said that when he would talk to him, was like, does he realize kind of what he's doing here? It's a weird circumstance. And Sweeney would just be like, I don't know, playing baseball. And, that was kind of, I think, the mindset of the team. It's like, I don't know, we're just playing baseball, having fun, winning some games. So specific to Flaherty, yeah, it'd been nice to have Flaherty in the rotation. But I look at, like, the way they did an organizational shift at the trade deadline as a whole as kind of the catalyst to how they got into the postseason.
Okay, so the next question is, first of all, I got to ask you guys, since you guys claim to be Tiger fans, who's your Tiger? Right? Remember that? For like years they ran that, and it was always Brandon Inge.
Well, I'll say on this team, I always say like it's Riley Green. And one of the best things about this season was the nation got to kind of see what those who are fans of the team and those that just follow the team like knew about Riley Green. It's like confirmation nationwide. We're kind of waiting for him to kind of be, look, he's not Bobby Witt Jr., but they're from the same draft class. They're in the same division. I want him to be in the realm of conversation as a floor with Bobby Witt Jr. And I feel like making your first career All-Star game, like you're on that track. Historically, I came up at a time where Curtis Granderson was roaming center field at Comerica Park, and I always liked the speedy guys with some power that made flashy plays on defense. And so when I was a kid, Curtis Granderson was definitely my Tiger. I will say this, as I always wore number 6 because of Al Kaline, Mr. Tiger. So therefore, I can't leave him unmentioned here as well.
Yeah, Jay, you keep calling me a fan. I'm a working journalist, so not a Tigers fan.
Yeah.
But I am a fan of baseball. All right, and as a fan of baseball, what a pleasure it was to watch Tarek Skubal this year. Some of the most dominant pitching I've ever seen, and just the level of consistency was really amazing. And to get to know this guy just a little bit and see how he goes about his work, the level of competitor he is, like it's one of those things you have a lot of respect for. And then just over the years to experience, this organization and its history a little bit, to get to know people like Alan Trammell, Kirk Gibson, Jim Leland, like that's baseball right there. And that's one thing I love about covering an organization with as much history as the Tigers have.
Okay, so I noticed you guys forgot somebody in your list of who's your Tiger. Javi Baez. Like, not one of y'all named Javi Baez. What are the Tigers going to do with Javi Baez next year? Because they're on the hook for a lot of years and a lot of money. And you're talking about Trey Sweeney coming up, being the guy at shortstop. Well, the only thing Javi Baez was like halfway decent at was somewhat playing shortstop. So what do they do with him? Do they try to move him? Do they release him? Do they try to bring him back in a utility role?
Yeah, I think you could try to move him, and probably no one would really pick up the phone. It's not a good situation. I'm glad I'm not the one who has to make that call. He's on the hook for, I believe, 3 years, $73 million. So far, it does not seem like the Tigers have any intention of just eating that contract, that money. Javi had a major hip surgery in September. Scott Harris said today he'll participate in spring training. Unclear if he's actually going to be ready to go opening day. Look, it's not realistic to think that a surgery is going to help Javi reclaim who he was in like 2018, 2019. That's out the window. I think the realistic scenario, if the Tigers are going to keep him around, is like a platoon where he plays as little as possible. Maybe he plays a little bit against left-handed pitching, but yeah, it's not a good situation with Javi Baez.
No. So, okay, then I'll give you the big picture question here for the offseason. Obviously, we'll chat and people can subscribe to the podcast wherever they listen, or to the show on YouTube. But Kieran, do you think that we don't need to go player by player right now of what they're going to do, but do you think that ownership is going to amp up payroll? Because this has now become a low payroll team, at least at the moment, but you want to point to them being in rebuild mode for the last several years. Are they going to put their money where their mouth is now that they've gotten themselves some playoff games and they're on the rise, or are they going to be like the Twins?
I don't think there's going to be that marketable of a change. I think that payroll will increase. It kind of has to, really. But I don't foresee, like, Scott has never given any indication that he's that interested in just adding payroll. I joked a couple months ago that, I'll buy him whatever Detroit-style pizza is his favorite if he just leaks to the media that he offered Juan Soto a contract. That's all. Just offer the contract. But it's not going to happen. He's going to try to fill around the margins, and he kind of said it today. Cody can correct me if I'm wrong here, but he's like, we have to still kind of build around these young players. What are young players? Young players are cheap. They're not really payroll raisers, if you would. So, and again, the Javi Baez thing is also a factor there because, as much as Tigers fans want them to just kind of cut bait, these billionaire owners aren't necessarily in the business of paying people not to work for them, even if it is at a much lower scale than what you're paying them for. So I don't anticipate a huge change. Now, I have said in the past that, like, the kind of moves that they've made around the margins, like, there has to be another tier that they go. And I think that's reasonable, and that still is within the realm of quote-unquote raising payroll. But anytime you bring up payroll, Scott always talks about infrastructure, minor leagues, coaches, those kinds of things as a way of investing in the team. And I don't want to dismiss that, but that's not going to, make the talk radio listener, like, not call in and complain about being 27th, 24th, or whatever it is in payroll.
All right. So if we're not getting free agents, extensions. Who's the first up? Who are the top three extension candidates in the order of where you think who is most important to extend at this point. Because you already got a Cole Keith deal out there, which turned out to be great. He started to really learn in the big leagues. But who are the top three?
And Cody, you take this one, and then because we're tight on time, but yeah, give us your top three, and then Kieran, you can give yours on Tiger territory, so people will have to tune in there. But go ahead, Cody.
Sounds good. You guys ever have Scott Boras on? Can we get Scott on and ask if he'll listen to us?
We have had Scott Boras on.
We have.
All right.
We'll try and get him again this offseason.
Tacky.
That's right, not tacky.
Yeah.
Scooble's got to be number one. He's a Boras client. 2 more years of team control. The thinking there is Boras likes his stars to test the open market. But if you're Scott Harris, I think you got to at least make that call and see, if you can make an offer. Maybe Scott and Tarek couldn't refuse. Number 2, and probably the more realistic one, would be Riley Green. Just had an all-star year. Gets a little bit interesting because he's been somewhat injury-prone in his young career, but he's also established like a very high floor for himself. So if I'm Riley's camp, I'm kind of trying to get some real money, 20+ mil a year. But if I'm the Tigers, I might have a little bit of hesitancy committing long-term to a guy who's been injured so much as a young player. Number three, I might need some help from Kieran on this one. They have some young candidates. Maybe it's even another young guy like a Jackson Jobe, who is also a Scott Boras candidate.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There might not be a third if we're honest with those kind of extensions.
Kerry Carpenter.
Yeah,
you could do Carpenter. Another injury concern though with there too.
Yeah, but damn man,
Can't give an extension to somebody who you're platooning.
True. Great.
It's very fair. And I don't know that Carpenter's camp would want that at like a platoon value. So
the Tigers have never been afraid to spend, though. In the past. When Mike Ilitch owned the team, they were not afraid to go out and spend. So hopefully they get back to that, and they sell some more Little Caesars, and they can get back to bringing in some free agents.
Chris ain't Mike.
I am aware, but I'm just saying.
We've seen this time and time again.
Chris is not Mike. And what are those like the little pizza bites? I think they're doing really
well.
Yeah,
those things look good.
Not enough to raise the payroll significantly.
Not for you, Cody. Not for you.
Not at $3 a pop. They might have to go up to $4 a pop.
Well, guys, this was great. Everyone check out Tiger Territory. Everything's getting rebranded there, so you can see it wherever you get your pods. I dropped some of those links in the live chat here just now. They've got the YouTube channel. You'll see their faces as they're running through things. You'll see Austin Jackson soon, too. So congrats, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it. And we'll chat, obviously, down the line.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.